Hey everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, welcoming you back to Lovecraft Country and our Secret Worlds interludes. Now, sorry, hang on there for a second. Now, this particular interlude is going to be over the town of Kingsmouth, so it's going to be a little longer than the usual ones. So, first of all, we're going to go over the geography a bit. Now, if you notice that this is the police station, which we covered in an earlier episode, so we're going to check out a few places. Now, this main drag here is known as Arkham Avenue, which of course is named after Arkham Asylum, from not Batman, actually. Earlier version was Lovecraft. Arkham Asylum was the institution that took care of all the people who, you know, went a little crazy after being in contact with cosmic horrors. So the thing was, is whoever decided to call that in Batman decided that it'd be a good homage to Lovecraft to do so. That or it's a complete coincidence, but I don't believe that. In any case, you will notice that you have a number of townhouses. Gentrification hasn't actually hit Kingsmouth. And you also notice that when the plague hit, the fog/zombie/drog invasion, whatever you want to call the incident, it was just before Halloween, as everybody's got their decorations out. This particular town knew how to celebrate Halloween. Now, down here, just on the corner here of Lovecraft Lane, and Arkham Avenue, you have the Arkham Cafe, which has a little bit of orange juice outside. It's been rotting for who knows how long. Now, you may notice that since Arkham Avenue is one of the main routes to get out of town, that there were a number of cars that attempted to exit this direction, but unfortunately ran into issues. Either this car had an accident that caused a cascade, or the zombie swarm got to it before people could get out. Now, if you continue down Arkham Avenue, you'll note just to the left over here, the Kingston, the Congregational Church and Graveyard, which we'll explore in greater detail, and next to it's the Solomon Priest house. Now, Solomon Priest, as you may know if you've been watching my series, was one of the two founders of Kingsmouth, and that's why it's called Solomon Island. The irony is that Solomon Priest is the guy's name, but apparently they named stuff both after his first name, which was Solomon, and his last name, which was Priest. And as you can see, there's a little bit of information here. You can see Solomon Priest lived from 1667 before his he lived here from 1667 to his untimely death in 1682. And you all know that, Eye of Horus there. We all know why that happened. Now, there's apparently floodlights in the front here to see this during the night, although the question is to why. My guess, if it's a historical landmark, it's not going to be open this late. And whatever sign was here has been removed. Now, going back here, passing by these lovely colonial houses. Couldn't tell the difference between standard Federalist or Gregorian myself, unfortunately. You will see that Arkham, past that particular sewer grate, you will see that Arkham Avenue heads over to the bridge over there in the distance on the left. Now, as I stated before, as it being one of the main ways to egress out of the town, a lot of people tried to get out. And in fact, there's still a cop car here from trying to control the situation. But if you notice, not a lot of people got out. All of these are empty of bodies, and those bodies are probably still running around, if they haven't been transformed into brood pods already. Yeah, minor spoilers here, people, for some of the early games, but most of you have probably already done so. Now, let's head back into town. And as you can see, the former inhabitants of town are not quite as lively as they used to be, nor are they prone to be as helpful. Now, somebody has to deal with the trespassing. Now, just south of the barricade that's protecting the police station is Elm Street, which of course is referring to Nightmare on Elm Street, the, famous and infamous slasher film. Now, as you notice, again, there's simple colonial houses here and there. This is still pre-gentrification, and there's a bit of patriotic pride among the New Englanders here. Over in front here, excuse me, no trespassing. There's a bit of a larger house with a wider backyard. I'm sure property values have dropped significantly if you're the sort of person that's looking for a fixer-upper and doesn't mind unruly neighbors. But as you can see back here, they don't seem to don't seem to be breaking up their leaves that often. As you can see back here, there's plenty of room for large parties. Although trespassing is an issue. Returning to Elm Street. Yes, I'm sure any of these places could be yours for a song once we clear out the zombies and the fog and the eldritch horrors. You can see the post office itself is down here at the end of Elm Street, and here we come to the shoreline. Now, we'll cover that in a bit. But for the moment, we have these psych oil, the easy gas, as they put it, station over here on the corner. And we'll cover the outskirts over there at a later time. As you can see, the post office itself is closed for business at this moment, but next to it, on the shoreline, you can see the Franklin Foundation Mining Museum. Now, if you remember from episode 3, the history of mining in Kingsmouth is somewhat fraught with disasters, as there's at least 2 mass graves of the unfortunate individuals doing the mining. But as you can see, despite the zombie apocalypse, the museum is still in quite good shape, and if you want to see some of the likely doctored history, well, maybe there's some survivors up there. Who knows? Hold on, guys. You can come here anytime. Now back to Lovecraft Lane. I'm sorry. No loitering. As you can see, we have the lovely colonial fashioned houses here, showing civic pride in their dedication to the decorations for the Halloween season. Trick-or-treating's gotten a bit rough, though. Most of this is residential areas, and then when we get back to Arkham Avenue. Heading past the cafe again, we come to Main Street. Now, Main Street, of course, runs south from the Congregational Church. No loitering. Where we have, on the left, Flagg's Pharmacy. In fact, when you're going to get supplies for the sheriff, most of them are going to be located here. Here we are at HP Arts and Crafts, where you want to make your Howard Phillips Lovecraft-inspired Shoggoth model. Just make sure not to bring it to life. The Sunshine Deli. Excellent sandwiches. The Creed Brothers hardware supplies, and I believe the Creed Brothers also were the same family that you found 2 of the, well, technically they're survivors of the Lady Margaret, but they weren't survivors when we got to them. Now, right here, the King of Books and the Soup Kitchen, right across from the main town hall. Now, the Kingsmouth Town Hall is interesting in that if you read the whiteboard behind the sheriff, you'll notice it's originally a safe house, but as you can see, it's been abandoned. And while I stated in an earlier season, there doesn't seem to be very much, well, evidence of any struggle here. Nobody broke in. I mean, you knocked over a few chairs. Now, I checked, and there's no wards protecting this place. I can lead zombies straight in, so there wasn't like, anything was protecting anybody in here. They just left the doors open. Now, up here, on the second level, you'll find a small waiting area with a soda machine, plus over on this side, the town's records office, which come in handy for if you aren't searching for the town's history. They're old-fashioned paper ones. What the heck? Sorry, locked up there for a second. Might be the battery on my keyboard and mouse is starting to go. But yeah, and here is the main room. I'm guessing this is where most of the town's business is done, and here's the key to the city here, which is important in one of the missions. But, as you can see, there doesn't seem to be a dedicated office for the mayor. So it makes you wonder. Now, as you recall from a couple of the episodes, the town council itself works for the Illuminati, although I don't think the Illuminati actually pays any attention to them. They think they're much better than they are. And up there is the town seal, which of course is, in Latin, all is conquered in light, omnivicity, My Latin is not good, unfortunately. Now, as you can see down here, we have the Kingsmouth General Store, which also serves liquor, and the Dunwich Newspaper and Stationery Shop. You know, yet another Lovecraft reference. Good lord, these... excuse me. They're just giving these things away. Okay, so here at the end of Main Street, you find Suzy's Diner. And if, as you can see, this now, according... oh, excuse me. Well, you know, Suzy's not going to anything like zombification, you know, keep her from her post. But as you can see, that this was supposedly, according to the whiteboard on the sheriff, another one of the safe zones, which obviously got overrun quickly. Now, this one does show signs of struggle, so we know the zombies overran the place, and Suzy herself's presence does this. And you can see there's still a little food back here. And if you're dedicated enough, you can go in and check the prices for the food, but I don't think it's going to be open anytime soon. And no, you can't rifle through the cash register. The bathroom itself, I'm guessing there was one survivor who held out in there till the zombies ripped the door open. Probably pretty gruesome end. Now, the thing is, since you have these points of resistance, you have to remember that the fog compelled the majority of individuals to simply walk into the ocean. So that means that since there's signs of resistance here and other places, that not all of them were affected. Now, of course, you've got these lovely houses here with the oceanside view in better times, and another situation where people caused an accident, or you guys caused an accident. Shame on you. Yes. We'll get to you guys in another episode. So, starting here at the corner of Belmont and Lovecraft Lane, excuse me. You can see the Dufresne's and Sons Marine Supply Shop. Now, Dufresne's we'll actually meet in an episode. So, since he's not here, in fact, if you check the note here, it tells you that Danny's gone skating, which gives you a hint to look for Danny in the skate park, of course. Over here, the additional beachside properties. Lovely view, but during storms and mystic fogs, that just causes such a beating on the paint job. A couple more accidents here, and now we've come to Angel Street. Now, people may not know this is yet another Lovecraft reference. That's the name of one of the families in the story. Excuse me. Keep it down. Thank you. Heading it now, you'll notice this one has residences to the left, and to the right here is the city park. Now, the city park itself has a sandbox, swing set, picnic places, lovely place to take the kids when non-apocalyptic environments, merry-go-round, seesaws. But we also know that the place can also be used occasionally for ceremonial magic of a dark sort. Several benches and a honest-to-goodness payphone. Even though this is 2012, at the point where I'm standing here, it's kind of rare to see phones, except in small towns like this. Now, on the other end of the park here, excuse me.
Local bounty detected. Initiating.
It's the Kingston's Volunteer Fire Department, which is pretty well funded for a fire department. I just wonder where both the fire trucks are, because I don't remember seeing them around here. And as you can see, if we head up the rest of the direction here, we come back to the bridge. There's a nice, gorgeous two-story house with multiple porches here, if you're the sort that think about moving in post-apocalypse. If you don't mind clearing out the neighbors. Now, one of the things interesting about these city blocks is that if you duck in, you'll notice that there is a square, essentially. even with lights and such, between each of the sides of the block. And this area tends to be fenced off back... Oh, excuse me, Mr. Creed. Gonna have to ask you to stop eating your brother again. Okay. There are fenced off backyards as well as a common area. Often you're going to find scooters and bikes parked here, and this is an enormous amount of space in our modern times. Now, these are accessible by little side alleys and such, some of which are open, others you need to deal with, one way or the other. So speaking of things between the blocks, at the just south of the corner of Arkham Avenue and Lovecraft Lane, past these lovely Halloween decorations, you'll see the sign to the Raven's Knock, which offers, of course, the usual New Age trappings of magic, psychic readings, potions, charms, and spells. With this being the secret world, I'm willing to bet that the proprietor may know something about it. And indeed, the peaceful nature of this backyard in a zombie-infested ruin kind of says that. Now, we've already covered Martin Roget's character and dialogue tree in a previous episode, but I did want to note that has extended her protection to her two kitties, Sekhmet and Macht, and frankly, that's just a wonderful assessment of her character. Okay, so here we are at the beautiful Kingsmouth Congregational Church. Sunday services at 10 a.m. sharp, although they apparently don't have a Sunday school, which makes sense since they don't actually have a second building. And, of course, it's a United Church of Christ, which is an actual denomination. You will see as you're entering 2 Illuminati wards, which you sort of explore in more detail in another mission, and within, due to its protection, is the only survivor outside of the police station, Mr. Christopher Martin. Now, the good Reverend Hawthorne is, as we've discovered before, actually a kind of a Illuminati fanboy. He tends to hang out on the Illuminati forums, although he's not really a member, and he gets obsessed with the history of Kingsport. Unfortunately, he tends to gloss over a lot of the problems and attribute, shall we say, motives to individuals who probably don't deserve it. We all shouldn't meet our heroes, and we certainly shouldn't dig up their bodies. But he's got some interesting dialogue. Let's talk to him about the church.
My child, Kingsmouth Congregational is always open these days. Especially now my flock is considerably reduced. But even if we had holy water, I'm afraid it would have run dry by now.
True. There is no baptismal font here, although you seem to have an organ on the left there that seems to be auto-playing.
If the good sheriff sent you, tell her I'm doing just fine. I have my books, and I have the Lord. And a 44 behind the pulpit, for differences of faith.
Yeah. God and firepower tends to be a good combination.
We don't usually do confessions, but, well, your secrets are safe with me. As God and Kingsmouth's founding fathers are my witness, I've heard and seen it all, the great and the small. Or maybe, looking at you, we're both in the business of secrets, if you follow my meaning.
Yes, he's a secret world hobbyist, as it were. Let's talk about the end of days.
This is no Armageddon. I hope you're not disappointed. The Mayans might have blocked it in on their calendars, but we have enough of heaven and earth illuminated to us to know better. God bless the internet. Knowledge is power, especially with Google on your side.
Oh, I don't really want to think about the saint of online searching.
Do you think this is God's work? Hardly. If God was done with us, surely he would just send down a meteor to finish the job. No, this is all a puzzle. A puzzle that the pieces of this town were fashioned just so to fit by Solomon Priest. I'm sure of it.
Now that's an interesting concept of whether or not priests wanted to leave behind any information. I mean, the problem is that whatever information priests wanted to leave behind might have been suddenly cut short for some reason.
Solomon Priest. That name says a lot about the man, don't you agree? King Solomon. Now there's an interesting fellow.
Yeah. The holiest of men, and yet somebody with a lot of concubines, so not sure what this is about the words of sanctity of marriage. Let's talk about the cemetery.
Look at the churchyard there, chewed up like Suzy's clam chowder. I've been keeping a head count, blessings to re-administer, plots to be returfed, other unfortunate logistical problems?
Well, yeah, you've got to be an optimist if you're thinking about, cleaning up after the apocalypse.
Certain discrepancies with the deceased. I mean, out here where there's more ground than people, internment is a God-given right. But in some cases, with out-of-towners mostly, the students from the academy...
What do the students of the academy do with it?
Well, I believe it's for science, for the advancement of mankind, yes, an enlightened pursuit. A noble tradition. And boys will be boys.
I hate that phrase. In any case, it appears that he's been letting, shall we say, transients and tourists that have no family to look after them. Their bodies, if they die for some reason in Kingsmouth, are just given over to the Academy for research purposes, and I'm sure we'll find out. Now, you can see, of course, the Ten Commandments are here behind the good Henry Hawthorne, as well as the modified Illuminati sigil. And as you can see, these wonderful stained glass windows here, although all the same design, and of course pews to handle the entire town population should it decide to, come to. Or pity more people didn't take Mr. Martin's approach. But yeah, I'm betting Mr. Martin actually may have come in one of these vehicles and gotten quiet, everyone. Please. Enough. Now, of course, as we were skeezing, behind the churchyard is the graveyard. This obviously is a spawn point for zombies because, of course, it's a place where you can find a lot of bodies. If you're just starting out in the game, some of the more dearly departed here, these single ones, can be a bit tough. So you may want to avoid missions that involve coming here until you've got a decent level on you. Now this, of course, is the Solomon Priest House. You saw the front, here's the back. That cellar access, of course, is part of a mission with the keypad next to it. Excuse me, visiting hours are over. Over here, on the side road, besides the Priest House, you can see that the area has been blocked off by an overturned ice cream truck. The Mr. Freezy truck. The owner himself is over there. We'll cover him when I do monsters. But as you can see, there's a severed hand here that you can find its owner for a mission, as well as several boxes of melted ice cream. But what's really creepy, if you get really close... Okay. If you get really close, you're supposed to hear something. Sigh. Oh, there we are. There we go. Hang on, let me change the ambient sound, see if I can boost it a little. So if you can hear it, can't do much of this, I'm sorry. Tried a few combinations. But listen very closely, you can hear sort of the warbling Mr. Freezy theme. Sometimes if you get just the angle right, it can get really creepy. So yes, so this is the main part of town here. And if this is the sort of thing you like, just hit a like button down there and let me know, and I'll put more of these out so we can go over the larger Kingsmouth area. There's the woods back there, the other side of the river, which is towards the outskirts, and of course the shore itself. So, like I said, this is Fantastic Worlds, and I'm saying farewell from Lovecraft Country in the town of Kingsmouth.
You will see the dawning of a new age. To be a monarch or a beggar. To lose everything.
You're identifying and actioning the win themes out there. That saves everyone so much time and energy. Except for the losers.